another short, or I guess more informal episode, but year's coming to an end, so wanted to talk about some of the, I don't want to say best, but some of our favorite albums that came out this year. I have my list. You have yours.
Sure do.
The difference is I ended up writing down 11 after all was said and done.
And I just remembered that I had a sixth right before recording this.
So I have my top 6, and then I have honorable mentions. I'll go through my honorable mentions real quick, and then we can just go back and forth.
That works.
Cool. So honorable mentions. I got 2 late entries to the game. One is Father John Misty's Mahash Mashallah. Just came out within, I would say, the last, I think, like 2 to 3 weeks of when we were recording this. I haven't really got an opportunity to sit with it. So what I have heard, I've really enjoyed, but I don't feel confident to put it anywhere in my top 6. I would say if you were going to listen to one song off it, I would go with the single, I Guess Time Just Make Fools of Us All. I think that was a great little funk song. Next up, another release the exact same day, Kendrick Lamar's GNX. Same thing. What I've heard, I've really enjoyed. I just haven't had a lot of time with it. If you were going to listen to one song off it, I would say go with TV Off featuring Lefty Gunplay. After that, big theme for my list as a whole is it was a great year for really heavy music. I have Vomit Forth's album, Terrified of God.
I love that band name.
It is a good name. I think the big thing with me is I feel like this album takes a lot of what was really great about the late aughts, early 2010s deathcore scene and kind of revitalizes it in a way that's exciting without kind of falling victim to a lot of the more stale tropes in modern metal. I would say if you're going to listen to one song off this album, listen to the song Non-Responsive. After that, we have Blood Incantations, Absolute Everywhere. If you go on any music review website during your daily life, at some point you probably saw a really pretentious write-up about this album. It is really heavily sci-fi inspired, Pink Floyd-esque, maximalist death metal. It's not exactly what I look for in death metal.
Which means I'd probably love it.
You might, honestly, you probably would. It's really different. That's the thing, is I can say it's not for me, but it's still really well done. It's really hard to pick out a song from this because I think it's a 40-minute, or it's over 40 minutes, something like that. But it's not really supposed to be song. It's, I think, 6 songs.
It's all supposed to be one song.
It's supposed to be 2 tablets, okay. I think, that split into 3 songs each. But they all just go pretty much right into each other. So for this one, I'm just going to say just listen to the whole thing. Take an hour out of your day. And then last but not least, this one's near and dear to my heart, but it is the Black Dahlia Murders' Servitude. This was the first album after losing frontman Trevor Strnad, which left a lot of people who really love the band not sure of what to expect afterwards. But even though Trevor is no longer with us and behind the mic, they definitely proved that no matter what, the Black Dahlia Murder will be the Black Dahlia Murder. So if I was going to listen to any song off this, I'd tell you to listen to Aftermath. All right. That was my honorable mentions.
I have one honorable mention that I want to add. It probably isn't on my list only because it came out a week ago and haven't had much time to listen to it extensively. Good friend of ours, Mike of the band The Forest Floor, they released their full-length album, The Wandering Fool, on November 30th. Very, very good if you like folk and like world music. A lot of different instruments in it in general. I know Mike, talking to him, brought in a bunch of different musicians to help out with the album. If I would recommend one song to listen to, for sure, it'd be Katorga. It's a good listen, for sure.
All right. Top 6.
All right. My first one would definitely be the album Dot from Wolfman.
Okay.
This is kind of a two-parter. I really like the band. So Wolfman is it's the frontman and band leader of the funk like group Wolfpack. he does his own thing every now and then, and it tends to be a bit more like goofy, but it still employs like a lot of the like musical techniques that they use in Wolfpack.
Hmm.
But he had a feature on it that ended up being somebody else that is on this list, but Evangeline on the song "Got to Be Mine," which I've listened to like way too many times throughout this year. It's just all around. It's a fun funk album. Some goofy stuff to it, a lot of fun stuff, but it's just very enjoyable. It's a good listen. Sit down and relax and get a good laugh out every now and then.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like. For a second, I thought you meant Wolfpack, and I
No,
was like, "That's strange that two bands would just have very similar names." But
yeah, they do like Wolfpack is a music collective, and then they like branch out a lot. There's Michael or Jack Stratton's side project, solo project. But you also have members that are in like the funk band, the Fearless Flyers, members that sometimes are part of Snarky Puppy, a bunch of different stuff.
all right, my number 6 is Kadia, People's Champion. So, Kadia is a Finnish rapper singer. He is, I guess at this point, he's not well known in the States, but he was a part of Eurovision, the Eurovision Song Contest, and he was Finland's submission for his song Cha Cha Cha. And man, oh man, it's just the greatest thing I've ever listened to. So it's kind of cheating because two of the songs that I love the most are technically from last year, but they came out on this album. But Kadia is just it's so infectious to listen to. Like you can't help but have fun listening to it. Like I don't personally enjoy a lot of like electronic music, but it's like we both love when it's electronic music, but there's broken English. And
Oktoberfest.
yeah, like it's just so fun, and you can tell he loves the music. He also refers to himself as the shirtless rampager. So, and it's so weird because like one of his biggest inspirations, kind of reading into him, is Rammstein. So it's like in industrial kind of, but like it has some like metal guitars and stuff in it. But it's just like real big like Euro synth pop. It's just I love it, and he has a bowl cut.
I've never even heard of him. That's
We'll watch his performance on Eurovision before
right.
I leave. If I was gonna say two songs again, it kind of feels like cheating because they're songs that came out last year technically, but they're on this album, so I don't care. Listen to the Eurovision song Cha Cha Cha. If you can, watch the actual video of him performing, or listen to It's Crazy It's Party with Tommy Cash.
Did you send me that before? I think you did.
A
Send me
while
that.
ago,
Okay.
yeah. That
I did hear about him. Then I just forgot about that.
that is top 5 songs. Again, it's cheating. I found it this year, so I'm going to say top 5 songs of this year.
Well, when did the album come out? This year.
This year, yeah.
That counts.
It's top 5. It's Crazy It's Party.
All right, my number 5 is going to be Negative Spaces by Poppy. I listened to it a few different times. Poppy, I feel like, is just like thriving in her own.
Her own little metal world.
Yeah, like the discovery of her becoming that. Because when I first heard her, she was like bubblegum pop. Like the song that I can try to remember what the song was called, but it was very like No Doubt sounding.
Mm.
And then she got out of whatever record label she was on and started playing music she liked, and it was just been like still sometimes bubblegum pop, but also like baby metal influenced, like sometimes cutesy, then just gets heavy. And Negative Space, the 2 albums came out in between. I Disagree, which was her first one that took that shift, and Negative Spaces is still just picking that up and rolling with it full force. But then also seeing her on Kimmel Live with Knocked Loose. Yeah, it's just like she's in her she's definitely thriving. 2 songs I would say definitely listen to on this, especially if you're looking for the heavier, is They're All Around Us and New Way Out. Both very, very good songs.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do really great write-ups about that album. I tried listening to it. I listened to the first song, and I wasn't in a place to really sit with it, so I'll probably return to it at some point. Next up for me, Nails, Every Bridge Burned. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be really pissed off while driving at the Indy 500, this album is for you. Because, oh man, I think it's 17 minutes long.
That was a Joyce Manor album.
It's just immediately in your face. It's so aggressive. It doesn't relent. Yeah, okay. It's 10 songs, 17 minutes.
Jeez.
It goes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't relent at all until the like very last song. Every minute, it's just the most visceral, angry album you can listen to. And like, I'm not gonna pretend like I was a big Nails fan before this album. I've started enjoying more like power violence and like more of that genre of hardcore. I know they're legendary, but this album is great and it makes me want to listen to more of them. So if you were going to listen to one song off of it, I'd say listen to Give Me the Painkiller.
My number 4, we're going to start getting into what the theme of this year has been for me, which is kind of just like sad bedroom pop. I don't know when I started vibing with it at some point this year, but it's like all I've been listening to and I love it. It's going to be Car Sick EP by Laura Elliott. Laura Elliott I discovered from a YouTube channel called, I'm drawing a blank here, Scary Pockets, which is another funk, just like music collective that bring in different people to sing on different songs. And I saw she originally was doing a cover for them for the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. And the other one was With or Without You by U2. And both of them very, very good. I really liked the way that she sounded and her singing voice, so I looked her up, and I absolutely fell in love with her album that didn't come out this year. That album's really, really good. Car Sick EP, it's 5 songs, not very long, but the first 2 tracks on it, which are Bug and Need. It was one word I couldn't think of.
There's so many words to think of just one.
Yeah, it's hard. But yeah, the 2 songs that I would recommend listening to off of this are Bug and Need. Kind of cutesy, also sad, but it's a good listen.
Ironically, my next one is a band you've mentioned already. It is You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose. Knocked Loose just continues to solidify their legacy as a once-in-a-generation band. It continues to be very crazy to see how far they're taking what they do. They never compromise. They've never compromised their sound. They seem to just be getting heavier, and somehow they still continue to just become more and more popular. You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To isn't my favorite release from them, but it continues just being very pure, primal, caveman-like anger from a band that everybody's championing right now. I think it's great. I didn't realize how much I listened to the album until my Spotify Wrapped came out, and like the entire album is on my Wrap. If I was gonna say any songs to listen to, I keep naming singles, so I would say the single Blinding Faith is definitely my favorite song off of it, but if you don't want to go for the single, I would go for Don't Reach For Me.
I still regret not getting tickets to that show.
You should. But the thing is, you should, but then also it was right when that album came out.
Yeah.
And they only played the singles. So they only played 3 songs off of that album.
I still would have loved to see them live. My number 3, getting a little bit out of the pop that's on the next couple, but it's going to be Polaroid Lovers by Sarah Jarosz. This album came out real early, January. And I listened to it like that entire month of January. And then went to see her live in Ohio to see her on the Polaroid Lovers tour. And it was the first time I've been to a concert that it was like at a theater and you like sit down. And it was a very, very awesome experience. It was such a good concert in general. Sarah Jarosz is one of my favorites in bluegrass and Americana in general. And this album is all about kind of like, they're all love songs, but it's all about like taking like snapshots, hence the name, of like just different feelings of love, whether it's like a mother's love to a daughter, just anything. The 2 songs I highly recommend are my 2 favorite on the album, which are Don't Break Down on Me and Mezcal and Lime. Both very, very good.
Next up, I got Chat Pile's Cool World.
That was a very good album. I forgot about that one.
If there's one band that was inescapable for me this year, it was definitely Chat Pile. God's Country became really out of nowhere one of like my go-to albums. Kind of the first foray into more like noise rock or noise music. There's just something so inescapably different about Chat Pile. Their mix, mastering, recording, musicality is amazing. Really like big, like in your face. And then frontman, hold on, he has a funny name. I don't want to get it wrong. Frontman Raygun Bush is, it's really easy to write him off as almost like a homeless man screaming at you with a sandwich board about how the world's going to end. But he, like, hearing him talk and explain the themes of like the music he makes is just so, he was talking about what this album is, and he said it's best to describe it as, it's a quote from French philosopher Voltaire, where he says, "The cool world is about the price at which we eat sugar in America." Really great album. I think they're kind of refining some of the stuff that makes them unique and pushing forward a really unique sound. Two songs I would recommend off of it. One is the single. I don't know what it is. Just this year, I really loved all the singles that bands put out. It's also, I think, I would just say it's my favorite song of the year, just hands down. I Am Dog Now. I think just the best song put out this year. And then number two, I would say Shame. It's probably the most palatable Chat Pile song. It's almost like grungy to a degree. So those are the two I would recommend.
Just to talk about Chat Pile real quick. I Am Dog Now first. Agree. That song was so good, but you said him talking to you, it just kind of sounds like the ramblings of like a homeless man. Mm-hmm. And even just in the song Why, like it makes like think that like at one point he just screams scabies.
Yeah. Like, have you ever had ringworm? Yeah. Scabies? Or there's just quick, but I've been listening to a lot of their older stuff now, and the one song is called Rainbow Meat, and he opens it up by saying, "Send my body to Arby's."
Going into my number two, I mentioned her earlier in this. It was When Demigods Go EP by Evangeline. Upon discovering her, hearing the single that Wolfman put out with her on it, I looked her up more, and it's very hard to find stuff from her because she has only really released like 2 small EPs. I instantly just fell in love with her singing voice, and she keeps collaborating with them, so I'm really hoping that it gets her more attention, more like popularity, so that we can hear maybe a full length from her. Very, very good musician, very good songwriter. 2 that I would definitely recommend off of this EP would be You and Me and It's Still You. Very great songs.
My number 2, I almost forgot that this came out this year, but it is Kawanashi's 3 Faces of Beauty, a violent misinterpretation of Morgan Montgomery. Kawanashi is a band that I feel like every band we listen to loves and respects. I tried listening to them initially and didn't really understand what was going on. They put out this EP, and the single I Hate the Sound of Car Keys just immediately, I didn't like it at first, and then the second time I listened to it, everything just clicked, and I was like, I understand what they're doing, and I buy into it with everything I can. I like take all of my money. I'm buying it.
It was such a surprise to me when you sent it to me, because like us having discussions about bands that sound like that,
yeah,
typically you don't like, and I had trouble liking it at first, and it was and that's more kind of up my alley.
Yeah, for anyone who's not aware who Kawanashi is, which I'm gonna assume is the vast majority of anyone who might stumble upon this, they're a math rock metal band, and one of their most identifying features is their lead screamed vocalist has a very unique, most people are going to call it Mickey Mouse-esque scream technique. I think if you look into the thematic aspects of their music, you'll understand why he uses that. I just think it sounds great. It sounds very visceral. It sounds very emotive. This EP Every single song on it's great. I love it. We were fortunate enough to be able to watch them play it in full. Very exciting stuff. I think one of the really defining aspects is how interesting their lyrics are, because they seem very like every song has a lyric in it that makes me either laugh at first, and then I'm like, let's think about this. Like the first song, at one point he just yells "white lady walking alone at night." I hate the sound of car keys, which is one of the songs I would recommend. One of the ending lyrics is, "I don't believe in Jesus because he wasn't there for me. I don't believe in my dad for the same exact reasons." And it's just like, you listen to it and you're like, what is going on? But then you sit with it and you're like, all right, I love this. So it's good. It's not for everybody. It's going to be really grating, but I would say I Hate the Sound of Car Keys or We Got One is a more straightforward, like, metal song if that's what you're looking for.
My number one for this year is going to be Older by Lizzie McAlpine. She's another musician that I discovered this year just from the Scary Pockets YouTube channel. Seeing her on there compared to this album was completely different, because the songs that she's covering on there, like, they're very happy and like seems very happy. And I again really liked her voice, so I looked into her and I've discovered that she released that album back in April, and I listened to it so many times through from August till the end of this year. It's just that really kind of like, I guess, like sleepy whisper sing voice. Like, I really like that, which really kind of got me stuck to this album. But two songs that I would definitely recommend on this are Staying and Drunk Running. To me, this whole album's like perfect start to finish. So
on the very opposite end of the spectrum, my number one album of the year is 200 Stab Wounds Manual Manic Procedures. Right now we're seeing a really big old school death metal renaissance, which, if you're someone like me who was really into, kind of like I said before, early like to late aughts and then everything from around 2010s, that was my era of like death metal, deathcore. I was never super into a lot of the older stuff outside of like Cannibal Corpse, the big people. But right now we're seeing this huge push and like a revival of old school death metal, and the thing that makes it so much more unique this time around is it's a lot of kids who clearly really love hardcore as a genre. So that's this really great mix of death metal, old school death metal with hardcore. It works so well. It's crazy that it took this long to really take off. But 200 Stab Wounds, I found them from actually a YouTube as well, the Hate56 YouTube channel. Just thought it was a cool name. They put out an EP after getting signed to Metal Blade, and then this year they put this out. Front to back, it's great. I think it's one of the best, most exciting, most fun to listen to death metal albums I've heard in a while. If I'm going to say two songs to listen to, first, be aware that the album cover is disgusting. So if you look it up, be prepared. Two songs to listen to off it if you're interested. Release the Stench or Defiled Gestation are the two that I would recommend. Those are our picks. Again, I don't want to say best, but our favorite albums of the year. Anything else you want to go through our Spotify's or
like our Spotify Wrapped?
Yeah, I mean, my top 5 was nothing different.
So mine. I made the joke that I said mine was schizophrenic, but then the more I looked at it, I was like, I mean, it kind of just is like one thing that's different from all the others.
Yeah, mine was Jeff Rosenstock 1, Knocked Loose 2, Kanye West 3, 4 was AJJ, and 5 was Kendrick Lamar.
My top 5, the first one, which they didn't release anything until I think mid this year, so I didn't really listen to it, but Japanese Harajuku core band, Hanabiya. I love them so much. But number 2 is Lizzie McAlpine, 3 Evangeline, 4 Wolfman, and then 5 was Father John Misty, because I went to those 2 concerts this year and then discovered him from you.
Yeah, yeah. I was really surprised he didn't make it into mine.
Yeah,
because I did listen to him a lot, but I listened to Not Like Us. I listened to the whole Drake Kendrick beef. Just made me go on a giant Kendrick listening spree. So yeah, Not Like Us came out a couple months ago, and it was my 3rd highest song listened to, And Euphoria, which is also a 7-minute long diss track to Drake, was in my top 10 songs. So really goes to show how much I hate Drake.
I think also really funny. I know I mentioned this. My most played song this year was "Heartbeats" by Swedish electronic music duo The Knife, and that actually came out in 2002. My most listened to song this year. I don't know if I just had it on repeat. I did definitely have it on repeat one day over and over again, just like kept going. But
That's how "Lonely No More" by Rob Thomas and "Unwritten" also got into my top 100.
I'm surprised, honestly, that someone I used to know by Gautier didn't pop up on there, because I played that song at work during our pool, and whenever I play a single song, it just keeps repeating on my Spotify, and it was just playing in my car on a drive the one day. I just let it keep going.
That's pretty funny. All right, well, we got to let some dogs in.
Yep.
So, all right,
All right.
albums of the year.